Hey guys! Today I will be showing you how I study anatomy, so let's get into it. I usually start all of my figure drawings with the head, and then I draw in the center line for the spine and the body overall. Then I draw the neck and the angle of the shoulders. This study is focused on the shoulder bones, so I will not be studying or drawing almost any muscles when I'm done with the bones in this video. Then I draw the 7th cervical, and I also add the top cap for the rib cage. Even though we don't see the top cap of the rib cage in this pose, I still draw it in because I like to practice drawing as if I had X-ray vision, so I still draw it in. And then I draw the rest of the rib cage. Then I draw a cylinder for the pelvis. I was kind of hesitant with the tilt of the pelvis because in this pose she's not really tilting her body overall into any direction too much, so it's a little bit unclear, but then I figured we would still see a little bit of the bottom plane, so that's how I ended up tilting the cylinder. Because we're focused on the bones here, I draw the spine as well. Now, remember that the spine has 3 sections, the cervical, the thoracic, and the lumbar sections. And also keep in mind they're not the same width and they're not the same height. And it's also nice to be aware of the fact that the spine is not just like straight, but it curves in each section a bit differently. Now in this pose it's not going to be too visible because we're obviously we're looking straight at her back, so we don't actually see any of the curving happening. Or it's not that we don't see it, but it's not that simple to capture, but it's there. Then I draw some simple gesture lines for the arms. Notice how I go back to the reference picture a lot between my mark makings. That's because you should pretty much spend more time observing your references than actually drawing, especially if you're very new to a subject and you're still unfamiliar with it. It's the best way to make sure you're not just drawing what you think you could see, but that you are actually soaking up as much information from the reference as possible. Then I draw the angles of the medial borders of the scapulae, and then I also add the spine of the scapula. Because the pose is symmetrical, I draw a lot of lines to keep the height of all the elements the same on both sides of her body. I am trying to capture that her shoulder bones are pushed outwards a little bit, and laterally too. Then I draw the acromion, and then I also define the scapula a little better. Then I redrew the right scapula completely because it just wasn't aligned well to the first acromion on the left. And then I just didn't like neither of them. I guess the angle between the acromion and the rest of the scapula was just odd. Then I draw the clavicles. Again, we don't see them, but I am thinking in X-ray vision. I also draw some cross sections for clarification of the angles, although I don't think I got them entirely correctly because they still look like it's just one long stick going in the same direction, which they're not. They have 3 sections as well as the spine, so I also drew the what the hell is it called? I completely forgot. It's very funny when you study anatomy for quite some time and you forget what something that you've known for a very long time is called. It's hilarious. I mean, it's actually pretty tragic. Makes you feel like you haven't improved at all, but that's where I am right now. It's called the manubrium because I'm stupid. You can also notice that I also drew in the manubrium, which again, we don't see, but we have X-ray vision, so we still draw it in because the clavicles are attached to it, so it helped me attach them better to find the attachment correctly. Then I drew some of the muscles. I drew the deltoid plus the trapezius because they're both attaching to the acromion, but I did not define them too much. I just drew like 2 gesture lines suggesting the existence of these muscles rather than drawing the whole muscles. This is a study focused on the bones, so I'm gonna stop right there. And now it's time for some self-critique. I always write down the most obvious mistakes to me in that study, or where I just wasn't sure about what I was doing. So the number one thing that I see in this study that I didn't get correctly was that the 7th cervical was a bit too low. It's not like too drastic, but it should be placed a little higher up, and that resulted in the rib cage being pushed down too much as well, because the rib cage, or the very first ribs attach to the 7th cervical, so we could say that the rib cage is attached to the 7th cervical. Like the individual ribs are all attached to their own vertebrae. So yeah, and the 7th cervical is a vertebra. Is a vertebra. So the number 2 thing that I got wrong was that I tilted the scapulae too much. Like laterally. Like I rotated them laterally too much. They should be more horizontal, plus they should be pushed upward more a little bit. Number 4 is that the scapula on the right is too narrow compared to the left one. So I take note of all these mistakes that I find, and then what I do is that I redraw the whole pose again and focus on fixing all the things that I've done wrong previously. And this could be repeated multiple times. Like, the more familiar you are with the subject, or the more experience you already have with studying a certain muscle or bones in general, the less you're gonna have to do this, I guess. But when you are still unfamiliar with it, or you're just beginning to study something, it is completely normal, in my opinion, to go over this process like with one pose, like even 5 to 6, even 10 times, where you just draw one take, you take a look at it, you find the mistakes, you draw a second take, and again, you find new mistakes, or you look if you've managed to fix the mistakes that you found in the first take. And if you realize that you're still repeating these mistakes, you might pause and like think, okay, so am I just subconsciously already programmed to do this thing wrong? Or was I just not paying attention while I was drawing for the second time? Or did I just forget about it? Or is it maybe that I found the mistake, but I didn't find the explanation for it correctly? Like, you might see that there is something not right with your drawing or painting, but you might not necessarily find the right reasoning for why the mistake is happening. So you might think it is, so you might think that the mistake is caused by something, when in reality something completely different might be causing it. So it's kind of good to be aware of all this, and to really take the time and analyze all of this. It's the only way you're gonna make sure that you are actually improving and taking note of where you're falling short. So this is the result of the second attempt after my self-critique. I hope that you liked this video, and if you did, definitely subscribe, because more videos like this one are coming. I'm planning on doing a lot of anatomy videos like this one, because I really love figure drawing and studying figures in general. So if you're interested in this, there's more coming your way. So, okay, that would be everything for today, and see you later. Bye!